I hope this little, very little scene would help many women that they are not alone, that a lot of women have been through this experience, and it doesn't mean we have to carry it all our lives.
Antes de empezar, si quieres más contenido analizando la tercera temporada de Mi Otra Yo, dale like al vídeo o suscríbete a nuestro canal. Hoy tenemos a Evren para este último episodio. Quizás va a ser el más emotivo para todas porque se trata del cierre. Y hablando de cierres, lo que nos gustaría conocer es cómo fue para ti o en qué momento supiste que esta era la última temporada y qué ha significado para ti todo este proceso de saber que llegaba el último momento, el cierre de todo un proyecto que también habla de tu vida.
Sí, gracias. When the Netflix approved that we would have another season, third season, we didn't spoke about that should be the last season, but when I started to think about the journeys of the character, I felt that, it was enough to talk about, and I was searching for an idea to open the season, and every time I think about this, I was seeing this war scene, and Çanakkale War, which was in the First World War, as a part of the First World War. It was then Ottoman Empire, the Turkish land, and then this war was very special because a lot of people from other continents brought here to fight for a reason they didn't even know, which reminds me a lot of situations nowadays, So, and in that war, Turkish soldiers, Ottoman soldiers, under the control of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, they did a great job. Great job means they didn't let the enemy pass through this border, which liberated the Ottoman Empire from being a colony. So when I think about the ancestors, because this whole concept was talking about our ancestors that we don't remember, that we don't appreciate, and the first two seasons were more about their burdens, their wounds and the traumas they passed through other generations. And this season, I want to bring on the table the gifts, regalos they bring us. So that's why I needed to start with this war, because in that war, a lot of people died from every side. And thanks to them, now we have Turkish Republic as an independent country, as a republican country. So I needed to honor them, all of them, and I needed to make all of us remember the freedom we have, the liberty we have now in Turkey is because of them and the ones who become before them and after them. So that was the main idea of the opening scene. And then after 4 or 5 drafts, I changed my perspective because I was telling the story from the eyes of a Turkish soldier. Then all of a sudden I changed this perspective and I said, okay, I will start with the perspective of an Australian soldier questioning why we are here fighting and killing in another lands just because somebody told us they are against us, they are dangerous for us, they are threatening us. But he is questioning how come the soldiers, the people of Ottoman Empire living thousands of kilometers away from us can threaten our religion, our culture. How? And when he arrives to this territory, he realizes what's happening there was only the brothers killing each other. And I wrote this very emotional letter from his eyes, saying that this geography, this landscape is the most beautiful landscape I've ever seen. And now, in front of these olive trees, we are killing each other like brothers. So I wrote this emotional letter, and the whole opening scene was around this letter. Also bringing the message, like a lot of message for today. But in the edit, we have to cut that scene. And this is I still feel sorry about this. We had to shorten the episodes for a lot of reasons. And I just needed to tell here how I start the episode from this. And what happens is that this soldier who saves an Australian soldier's life, he's supposed to kill him, but he chose to save him, to bring him to the hospital and gave life to this soldier, is Ada's ancestor, his grandfather. And in the third season, Ada is following the steps and finds this clue, this very clue. It was already there for years in this bag. In the first season, she just finds a picture of her father having another relationship with another woman and having this other kid. And her focus was on this. So she didn't even search for the other treasures in this box. And this season, she goes further with the inspiration that Özgür gave her. She finds a picture from this war. And I think it's symbolically, it also has this meaning that if we look with other eyes into our past, we can find some treasures, some heritage that can be also helping ourselves in this daily life. So this closure only happens in the final episode because a woman from Australia finds first Dennis because she had the same surname. And Dennis thought this surname was a shame all her life because her father's real surname was not this one, as she thought, but it was not wrong, it was not right. And Ada completed this story with Dennis. Once they were united as sisters, honoring where they come from, then they receive a gift from Australia. This woman comes all the way to Turkey to find them, to say, my grandfather was thankful to your grandfather, grandfather, because without him, we wouldn't exist. Mm. And that's why he wants to give you this little piece of his legacy. We didn't know the number, we didn't see the number, it doesn't matter. It's something solid. It symbolizes whatever we do, there is a result for our new generations. In a bad way, also in a good way. So it was the closure of the story for Ada, receiving a real material gift from her ancestors. Yeah.
Y es un profundo agradecimiento que tiene esta mujer y que ellas también van a poder usar de una manera en que ayudando a los demás, Denise enseñando y Ada con el instituto, gracias a el regalo que reciben de esta mujer australiana. Evren, hay dos momentos en donde los personajes, los caracteres se miran a los ojos y ven reflejada la humanidad, precisamente en esta tercera temporada. Una es cuando el tatarabuelo de Ada salva a este hombre australiano, que en el instante en que lo va a matar se da cuenta que mirándolo a los ojos descubre la humanidad que también hay en él. Y el otro es cuando Ada visita al asesino de Sevgi. Y son dos momentos preciosos que has descubierto cómo solo mirando al otro, da igual de dónde viene o la diversidad cultural que hay. El hecho es que somos humanos y eso es precioso.
Gracias a todo el trabajo que I did almost 9 years now with the family constellations, because in each constellation, each story awakens a part in me to accept, to respect, and to step back and without judging, to try to see the whole picture. So it's a great exercise as human beings, facing a lot of problems in our daily lives, a lot of adjustments, thanks to all this work, thanks to Bert Hellinger, thanks to every teacher I met, I collected these little moments to integrate into my work.
Hoy hablábamos de cómo has ayudado también a otras personas a poner voz y el foco desde otra perspectiva, y mirábamos las historias que han escrito durante el retiro algunos de los participantes, veíamos aquellas que hablaban desde su voz y hemos visto también aquellas que hablan para dar voz a otros, y tú das voz a otros para que podamos ver no una partecita de la historia, sino una historia más completa, más humana y más real. ¿Cómo ha sido para ti el proceso de decir, bueno, este va a ser el camino de cada una de ellas, porque Ada, Leyla y Sevgi llegan al final? ¿Cómo ha sido esa construcción? ¿Cómo te has sentido en ese proceso?
First, I try to think all of them separately, considering where do they come from, what happened in the story, what was their backgrounds, their family stories, what was the challenges in front of them, and the conclusion had to give us a solution, a resolution, a reveal of a relaxation of these conflicts. So I knew that Ada has to combine her mind and heart, science and spirit. So also in relationships, she always stayed in a distant situation with the partner, and she always blamed the other side during all her relationships. She was the victim, she was cheated, and this time, first time, we see Ada making a step forward towards the other person. She says, I wait for you. Before, she was always expecting, they need to support me, I want to do my job, I need to go to Brussels, and my husband has to be okay with this. And with Toprak, she has a daughter, he has a daughter, he has a music career and all that. And Ada wanted to be the priority for him. And then she wasn't, she neglected, she wants to go away. So with Deniz, in this season, she is not completed by a partner. She is completed by her sister, who was the enemy in the beginning. And when she was completed, then she could make a step towards Özgür, because now she knows what she needs and she knows which steps she has to make to find a conclusion with the partner. So that was very powerful to me, that I'm a person who is discovering this process in my life. Also, becoming a partner is sometimes in the movies, in the romantic movies, Hollywood movies, it's like a goal. Find a partner and have it forever, and happy ending is there when you get married. It's the happy end. No, it starts there. Yes. It starts when you find this partner. Then the story starts. So I am happy for Ada. I think a balanced partner in her life. I love Özgür very much, and And I'm
Y
happy that
conforma una familia,
sí,
algo que anhelaba ya al final, no al principio, no en las otras temporadas.
sí, because when Selim wanted to have kids, she said, "No, I have my career. I'm not ready." Now, even though Özgür didn't want a kid in the beginning, the whole journey, losing Sevgi and getting know Özgür's story in a deeper level, and they decided without talking, I guess, you know. I always saw her, even this I discussed with Tuba very much, and she was also questioning, is Ada want to become a mother or not? So that was the heart of the situation. And we really discussed a lot about this. And I didn't know until I wrote the last episode. But when I was writing the last episode, the last picture should be with a boy. First, I was confused, and then we discussed, and I said, should it be a daughter or a boy? And then we discussed there was a boy is needed in this balance, you know.
Yes.
And so with Ada, of course, there will be new challenges because now she owns this institute. She is responsible for a lot of people's health and minds. So, yeah, she would have, if we have a spin-off, I'm sure she would have very rich stories around this institute. Maybe maybe creating more international stories, histories. Maybe people from all around the world would come to her place, and we would have other backstories of other nations. That would be great. So yeah, with Ada, I'm happy how she ends up in the final. And with Leyla, maybe she is the one who changed the most.
Sí.
In the first season, she was this childish, flowing energy, flying all over the place. She cares about materials, good dresses, how she looks. The first thing we see her, she wants to make her boobs after giving birth and everything. And she still wants that, by the way, but she doesn't disvalue herself because of what happens around her. That's the most remarkable change in her. She wants to create something of her own. She wants to become a more connected mother to the children. And finally, she accepts the fact that she and Erdem, it's not aligned anymore, because she has changed. And Erdem had the opportunity to change, but he chose to repeat the same cycles when he was uncomfortable in his life. He again chose to cheat. He wants to go back to the story where they started. Okay, let's sell this place. Let's have all the money. Let's don't care about what happens to this place. And then we go back to our life in Istanbul, and you be the Lady Leyla again. I work for you. But Leyla has changed, and she doesn't want that destiny anymore for herself. And
Leila, creo que hace un salto cuántico cuando decide no continuar con Erden, pero tampoco iniciar una relación con Yorgo.
sí,
Y dedicarse ese tiempo a estudiar y finalizar su carrera de psicología. O sea, con una madurez de decir, esto ya está, no seguiremos muy bonita la frase cuando están en el banco frente al mar con Erden, seguiremos siendo padres, no pareja, pero sí los padres de estos niños, pero ahora hay un tiempo para mí, un tiempo para poder estudiar, o sea, esa capacidad de poder aplazar, ¿no? lo fácil de tomar otra relación, no, ella se toma su tiempo. Esto es una joyita también de esta temporada.
Y que no pierde también su esencia divertida, espontánea, no pierde tampoco quién es, pero es cierto que quizás si al principio de la temporada 1 era un personaje con el que podías pensar más en esa superficialidad que a veces vemos, que esconde en realidad mucho dolor, y es una mujer que nos abre un mundo y además lo has tocado con mucha delicadeza. Todo lo que es ir a trabajar, el bloqueo de los recuerdos, del abuso. O sea, es una mujer que hoy nos muestra que detrás de muchas de las caras que ponemos o los personajes que creamos, también hay una historia que necesita ser mirada. Y el que le hubieras dado este lugar maduro también a ella, yo creo que ha sido un regalo para ese personaje, porque se ha ido construyendo también con todas las decisiones que ha tomado.
Sí. And the trauma she faced when she was a kid is also a big revolution for her,
Sí.
right? Yes,
Sí.
because she didn't even remember. But again, thanks to Constellations, I witnessed a lot of stories, a lot of abuse stories. And I was thinking about to write an abusement story for the girls. First, I thought about Sevgi, but no, she had this other concept in her life. And then I said it should be Leyla, because we expect the less from her to shut down this pain. And I was on set that day, and every woman on the set, in the caravan, the people, the girls who work backstage, everybody, including me, were talking about these abusements in our childhood as little girls, as teenagers. It is so common. There is no single woman, I believe, in my country has no experience in that. It can be a small thing, big thing, a more heavy thing, but it's a very common problem. And to be able to speak about this over a character, which is, let's say, the most alive, most feminine, that you would less expect, was very important. And I think Leila's change also starts with this. When she resolves this trauma, when she, with Ada's help, with the therapy, she goes back and she owns this wounded child, and she says, I am here for you. And I'm sorry I forget you in this dark place for many years. Now I see you. You are not alone anymore. While I was writing this, I was crying. I hope this little, very little scene would help many women that they are not alone, that a lot of women have been through this experience, and it doesn't mean we have to carry it all our lives. We can save ourselves from this dark place, and then a part of us who remained in this childhood state, and as a little girl, needs protection, needs to be good with everyone because she has this fear of losing the confidence, and so that she's smiling all the time, she is up all the time, because otherwise she's afraid. And we can also have this part within us, but without the wounds. We can protect this little girls inside of us as a grown-up women, but we can resolve this little prisons living inside of us.
Exacto, no podemos cambiar la historia que nos ha tocado vivir, pero podemos dejar de vivirlo como una prisión o algo interno que no se puede mencionar.
Y que la culpa y la vergüenza no son para el que ha sido abusado. Nunca, nunca. Ojalá todas las personas, hombres, mujeres que han sido abusados, puedan llevar internamente la idea de que no tenemos por qué cargar con eso, porque no hemos sido nosotros, han sido otros.
See, and there comes your input in this, because when I wrote the scene, I sent it to you. I had a shape, I had some words, but then you brought up the word innocent.
Yeah.
You are innocent.
Tú eres inocente.
So it's just one word, but it it repairs a lot of things in your system. So that's why when we sent the scripts to the set, it was really important for them not to change the words, because all the words, all the sentences has a deep meaning, and we've been working on them for a very long time with your help, with the therapist's eyes and input.
Totalmente. Miramos cada una de las palabras y hablamos mucho de esta escena y del impacto que iba a tener. ¿Cómo fue para el equipo recibirlo y especialmente para, bueno, Leyla, el personaje que representa todo eso? ¿Cómo recibieron todo esto?
She was, when she read the scripts, she wrote me a message. She said, I'm in shock. I wasn't expecting that, but I don't believe how incredibly you bring up so daily problems into this story. So she was, and as I mentioned before, we were in the caravan talking about the scene, and she had a story, the makeup artist had a story, the director assistants, everybody was talking about something similar that happened to us. So it was just like a therapy session in between us, because when you even remember or say it out loud, I think your nervous system starts to process what happens instead of shutting down, you know?
Ya no estás en soledad y no tienes que guardar ese secreto externamente, sino puedes sentir, pues eso, en la conversación con otro, cómo puedo darme el lugar de expresar lo que he sentido y tanto he llevado. Y seguramente así será para mucha gente que vea a Leyla y que vea cómo se lleva a través de esas palabras, esas frases, ese cuidado, el expresar el dolor que está ahí escondido durante tantos y tantos años.
Yes, and with our director, Arda, because he's a man, he called me after reading the 4th episode. He called me, Evren, this is so harsh. Are you sure we want to do this way? Because it's, as a man, I couldn't read it. It's so heavy for me, he said. So then I said, we are in the right path, Erdem, because if it's so hard for you to read, imagine how was it when we were living this. So I'm sorry, we need to go there, because it's this series about all these unspoken wounds in the past. And this season, we are not going back 100 years ago, 50 years ago. We are going back stories of the actual characters, their childhood. So, and he was like, oh my God, it's like so hard to, emotionally, he was receiving the message, like, but he has this, it would be hard for the audience to watch also. He has a point in this concern. So we try to make it not showing any kind of violence, any abuse scene, nothing. He showed it more sensual in the eyes of the horse, a horse, uncomfortable horse, you know, it's the, so it was a very delicate scene also with the kid actress, of course. Yeah.
Exacto. Llegamos a Sevgi y cómo ha sido, cómo pensaste esa construcción de esta tercera temporada, cómo surgió toda la creación. El final lo conocemos, lo hemos explicado en el otro vídeo, pero ¿cómo fue cuando pensaste esta temporada partiremos desde aquí y va a recorrer o va a transitar todo esto? Y cómo apareció Jalime también, porque estuvo, es parte importante de esa construcción.
I was less concerned about Sevgi because she was leaving this message since the first day. When I put the word on the board, like if there is Sevgi, there is love after that, then I started to imagine this message coming from her after she dies. But right before she was dead, she has this complete story. You know, she had Fico, She had her mom separated from her, finally having her own life decisions and owning her story. And she was in peace with her friends. She was good at his job. He made this man be in prison. And so I think her story was completed in that sense.
Una vida vivida.
Una vida vivida.
Vivida. Y nos despedimos ya,
Yeah.
cerrando esto, sabiendo que...
And one more regalo para mí.
Sí.
Yo hablo español. After working with you all these 3 years, I cannot believe, but I understand everything you say. I don't speak yet, but...
No, también hablas
un poquito.
Sí, un poquito, y entiendes absolutamente todo.
We have a lot of viewers from Spanish-speaking
Claro.
countries, and when they send me messages, I can read and understand. It's so nice.
Sí.
Yeah.
Y el regalo para nosotras ha sido que nos has abierto un mundo, nos has enseñado a entender las historias desde otro lugar y nos has mostrado cómo se puede cuidar, porque yo nunca hubiera imaginado cómo se puede llegar a cuidar una historia para que, como ha sucedido, tenga el impacto que tenga. Yo le deseo a esta tercera temporada todos los éxitos que hayan, pero sobre todo a ti, porque has sido el motor, el corazón, el movimiento, y que muchos estamos mirándote y deseando que eso que has creado siga impactando. Antes decías, hay muchas posibilidades de historias, ¿no? También podríamos ir a mirar la historia de cada una de ellas, de sus ancestros, o como ahora traías, que Ada pudiéramos ver qué sucede en esa clínica, y yo estaría deseando ver lo que va a pasar ahí. O sea, que ojalá sigan creciendo esos proyectos.
Y de todas maneras nos queda la imaginación.
Sí.
O sea que cada uno puede continuar soñando con esos personajes en abierto, pero solo porque tú, encerrado, ya nos has dado ese regalito de unas historias preciosamente tejidas. De verdad, la red humana que has generado es maravillosa. Te agradezco enormemente.
Gracias.
A ti, gracias,
Muchas gracias.
Ebran. Cerramos aquí esta temporada, este pedazo de serie que ha sido y que hemos disfrutado todos viéndola. Nosotras hemos tenido la suerte de estar acompañándote y disfrutando contigo, pero toca llegar a su fin y también este vídeo es nuestro último con Ebran para esta temporada. Veremos lo que llega más adelante.
Otros materiales.
Otros materiales y otros vídeos.
Para no...
Y con esto agradeceros, si queréis conocer más sobre otros análisis que hemos hecho de Mi Otra Yo, tenéis los vídeos, podéis darle like a este vídeo y suscribiros al canal y contarnos cómo ha sido estos, casi llevamos ya desde el 2023.
3 años.
4 años.
4 años. 4 años.
Disfrutando de Mi Otra Yo. ¿Qué habéis sentido? ¿Qué habéis vivido? ¿Cómo ha sido? ¿Y cómo ha sido para vosotros recibir esa tercera temporada? Gracias a todos y gracias a las dos.
Gracias.
Gracias.